Hi, welcome to Polyphonic Press. I'm Jeremy Boyd.
I'm John Van Dyke.
So, you've probably heard John's voice before, but you haven't really seen him before. This is what he looks like. If you don't know, he was my partner on the podcast. We're not doing the podcast anymore because no one was really listening. So we're gonna try something a little different. We're gonna do. I had a video series that I did for a couple weeks called Music Discussion. So we're gonna kind of take that name and put it into this context rather than doing that, because I was basically doing stories in that video series that we were already doing in the podcast, so might as well merge the two, and now you have that. So no one was really listening to the podcast, so
and those who were appreciated.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. And so basically, if you don't know how it goes, is we look for music news stories that are going on in the music industry and we talk about them. So that's basically how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know who John is, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Now, how did it go when I introduced myself a year ago?
I don't know.
Well, I've always been, I think my shirt sort of gives that away, but I'm a bit of a fan of the psychedelic rock from that period. That's what I sort of specialize in. But, I like, rock as long as it's, I like any music as long as it's honest to where it comes from. And
I think most people who are viewers of the
YouTube
channel,
we kind of known each other
agree
forever. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So the first story that we have today is Neil Young, about a little over a year ago, announced a new kind of music device called the Pono, which basically is like an iPod, but it's high resolution audio basically.
Yeah. So
this guy on news.cnet.com is going on about how the Pono, he's sort of questioning whether how or if it's going to work. And so basically his argument is that will you have to, but there are a lot of questions in the air. Will you have to buy a separate device in order to listen to these high resolution files? Will you be able to listen to it on an iPhone or an Android? Or even only a handful of artists even have high resolution audio files. And really it only comes down to the standard is 48 kilohertz and 24 bits. That's the highest that most people go when they're mastering a recording. And even though there have been other formats like super audio CDs and DVDs, basically the Pono device promises to have the best quality music, best resolution in music that it possibly can. And this guy's kind of questioning that, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's definitely possible, but it's like we
know it's possible. It's just there's a couple of roadblocks in the way.
Yeah.
For starters, there's not a whole lot of music that's been recorded in that super high resolution, so that would have to be remedied. Someone would have to get a hold of the masters of a whole whack of recordings in order to.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, if you're gonna have recordings like even older recordings and things like that aren't mastered in the higher resolution, you're gonna have to go back to the original tapes that they were recorded on and remaster them. So, which is a really long process, and it takes it's gonna take years to go through all of these things, and I think it's gonna be a bit of a slow start. And definitely, I mean, it can be done, but I think that they're not considering a lot of things, and I think they set a release date for early next year, but I think that might be a little too soon. I think they might be jumping the gun on it. And I know we did a story where Sony released a home stereo system that is basically the same thing, but they've already released that. And so I don't know if that might, take over, or if that's going to, if that's going to be a better system, that maybe people are more apt to go to that, because with that system, you can actually still plug in your computer or your iPod and things like that, and you can still, listen to the devices that you already have. So, I don't know.
That's right. We were talking about earlier, which do you think would be a better seller, the portable device or the home stereo?
Yeah.
I think the portable device might have the edge because it's more like the iPod. People use those things all the time. I would think that the best, it would probably be the better seller because you can do more with it. You can plug it into speakers and play it, as long as you got good speakers.
Yeah, that's the thing too. You need and because it's a new Sony electronics product, it's ridiculously expensive. Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is you have to consider the price.
Tends to be.
But I think you're right. I think the portable player is gonna sell better. It's just a matter of when it gets released and a matter of getting those albums that are still up in the air. And another thing too is not a lot of like news has been reported on, and they haven't really released any like press releases or anything like that. They've only really done a demo of the prototype.
Yeah.
They've only really had they've only said how it's going to work. They haven't said what's going to be available on the device. Whereas already, like, even though it's only a handful of albums, still on the Sony device, there are still albums that are available. Like, I think the new John Mayer record was available on it, and I think some other albums that were released recently were available on the Sony platform, and not necessarily on the Pono device, which, if maybe Pono and Sony could work together, and they could join forces. That might, because other companies have done that before. That would
solve a lot of problems. Once again, I don't even know if they're the same files that they use.
I don't. They wouldn't be the same, but they would be similar.
They'd be similar. Yeah. But would they be like compatible? Like versus like MP3 versus like was it MP4? I guess.
The Apple, whatever the Apple one.
Yeah.
AAC, I think is what Apple uses. So yeah, they're similar. Like, they're still like, they still have, they're still lossy, is what they call them, because they're not, fully, full audio, full spectrum. They're still MP3 and AAC are still compressed files, but they're similar. They're different coding, but similar concept.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe the Pono device and the Sony thing is kind of similar, like similar concept but different files, basically. So, and the article goes on to say that he talked about SACD, which, if you're not familiar, is basically like high definition CDs, which were released in the mid to late 90s. Early 2000s, that kind of period. I know the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers playback box set is all SACD. And remember, for a while they also had audio DVDs as well. You see at Music World they had like
vaguely, yeah.
DVD. They're called DVD audio. And they didn't do very well.
No.
Because there's no point to them. Because basically it's a little bit better quality than
and you played it in your DVD player.
Yeah. And, well, the only advantage to DVD audio was you could get albums in surround sound. It's like 5.1.
Like a quadraphonic.
Well, it's 5.1, so because you have the 4. Quadraphonic is only 4.
Yeah, it's just the 4.
5 is you have the 4 and a subwoofer, so it would be 5.1.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why they call it 5.1, because to me that's just 5. But I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about the Pono or the Sony device. It's hard to say whether I would prefer one or the other. If you had the money, and you were going to be able to buy one of these devices, and you were choosing, which one do you think you would be more likely to go with?
I'd probably go with probably the Pono handheld device.
Yeah, because you do a lot of walking.
I do a lot of walking. I find it's easier. You can plug it into your car. You can keep it on you as you're walking, or plug it into anything, so long as you can like plug it into like a sound system as well, because I like to do that.
Yeah, because that's the thing too, is like the Sony one is only for your home.
Yeah.
The Pono, like as with an iPod, you can plug it in, you can take it with you, but you can also plug it into a stereo system. It's not that hard to do. So maybe the Pono is maybe a little more versatile.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where my money would go.
Yeah. I'd probably go with the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd probably go with the Pono device over the Sony one. Although, maybe the Sony one might be kind of cool to have too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, also, you'd have to take a sound test. See which one comes out
That's true, too.
the best as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd really like to at least see these two come to market. So you can at least check them out.
Yeah, definitely.
But as to whether they're gonna sell at all, I'm not a marketing expert really. So
no. But anyway, let us know in the comments which one you would more likely to choose, the Pono device or the Sony device, or are you just gonna stick with MP3s, or are you gonna just go with the streaming? Let us know in the comments. I just want to remind you to check out polyphonicpress.com. You can check us out on Facebook, Last.fm, and Twitter. I'm going to get John to get a Twitter account so you can follow him too.
Oh, goody.
That's about it. I'm Jeremy Boyd.
I'm John Van Dyke.
Take it easy.